I think we are overdue a performance from somebody like Sloth, who I think could well just come in and really grab hold of this one.
Yeah, I'm kind of thinking about how it's played out for Cavanagh in the last couple of play days. They've had a bit of a torrid time, is it, to steal a word from you, Ace? You love the word torrid. You look back to week 1. You do. But against Rogue back on play day 1 on Cafe, things were okay. They won 7-2. Rogue were in the dumpster, is whatever it was. When they were on Consulate against Na'Vi, didn't really have a great time of it. And then on Clubhouse against G2, really didn't stack up to it either. Didn't come along to the party with a present to bring, and they looked a little bit silly, stood there in the corner getting slapped about 7-1. Here on Oregon, a more, dare I say, new map, a team that we've seen a lot of teams scrimming and playing across CL and EUL. I think this really gives them a good chance to show what they're made of, and you might argue the same to TrainHard. Coming into a more structured map, maybe we get to see the best of both teams here today.
Certainly might do. The bans are raining in then. We have got Hibana, Thatcher, Wamai and Malusi going by the wayside now then on Oregon. That is going to be interesting. We've got Hibana taken out, obviously, to protect a few of those hatchers. Also some hard breaching requirements possibly up on the top floor, but it's not too breachy a map, really. This is, very few sort of essential breaching. There's breachy. I'm coining the phrase. And there's plenty of hard breaches left available. We can see Ace getting picked up immediately. Maverick is usually the go-to for opening attic, so I don't think Hibana has too big an impact in that sense. It's pretty much focused around that electric hatch.
Breachy, you love a breachy map. You do as the Thermite main in the stack, don't you?
Oh, I'm all about a breachy map.
I could see that one holding on for quite some time. Anyway, round number 1, laundry and supply. We've had a few questions around the Malusi, the Aruni. Too many things ending in the E sound at the end of it these days. We've had a few questions about Aruni and just how popular she's been, what her impact has been. And someone popped up to me last week and said, I haven't watched a lot of the UL season so far. What has the impact been of Aruni? I sat there and thought, I can't say she hasn't had no impact, but I also can't say that she's been game-changing since her introduction. She's definitely been employed by quite a few teams, and we've seen time and time again. We saw it earlier on, actually, in Navi's game on Consulate, teams burning drones into the Aruni gates just to open them up. That's a pretty crucial piece of intel to consume for the attackers, I think. So what are your general thoughts and sentiments on her so far from what we've seen over the last 3 weeks?
Well, I think realistically, Des, I think obviously we've had a high pick rate for Aruni. She's been very popular, as you say. We've seen plenty of her. And Aruni's one of those operators that her impact on a round isn't necessarily front and centre. So, as you've said there's a lot of sort of almost stealth taxes going on with Aruni. There's a lot of utility being burnt. There's a lot of drones being burnt in there, and they all have small impacts on the round in their own way. Maybe it means that a deployable shield actually remains intact because there's now not enough to burn out the ADS that's covering it for the nade to go. You've got to look a long way down the path sometimes to say, actually, that Aruni gate has had this impact because of X, Y, and Z. You've got to look a long way down the path. And so I think, yes, there will have been a big impact. We know how important utility is inside a siege, and we nearly have an early kill there on the freezer stairs, but just managing to dip away from it. So I think any operator that can create this sort of utility sink, this utility burn, is going to have value, and I think Aruni's probably done that. Burnt time as well, having to clear that out, having to coordinate your attack to move in through that 30-40 second window before it can be reactivated. And I think the pick rate says it all, really.
Yeah, it absolutely does. Breachy maps and utility tax. That is the end of the Ace and Des podcast. Let's get into some Siege and see how round 1's shaping up. There's been quite a bit of a focus on the upstairs from TrainHard, as you would come to expect. Just looking to force these roamers out, but Gorgona's going to be the first one to strike like ships in the night. They've been passing each other now for the first 90 seconds or so, exchanging the occasional blows, but no one going down. But Gorgona, the Bulgarian inside of Dining, is doing work with 2 opening kills onto Blaz and Spark. Big operators to remove it. That a Hard Breacher and Blaz, one of the key fraggers on this team, playing the Zofia for Norea to strike, bring him down and bring things back to a 4 versus 3. But I think, Case, the damage has already been done.
I think you're absolutely right. 4 versus 3 now for Cavanagh, finding themselves at a real advantage coming into this final minute. On the defence, Hard Breach gone, limited options for TrainHard now to fight their way into what is a tough nut to crack anyway. We see Nade just going out there to clear, again, some of that important utility. The push is going to come from Freezer. Noera just looking to to apply a bit of pressure to Laundry as well. I like what I see from that part of the attack now. Be very careful there. Durza nearly just coughing a face full of his teammates' nade. Sloth, big double. I said we might see something from him tonight, Des, and that is 2 on the way. Noera shuts down an Anarchic, but finds himself all alone in a 1 versus 3 now. Surely the opening round is going in the favour of Cavanagh. 15 seconds left to go. Noera needs to find his way in, needs to find kills, and he needs to do it right this second because time is ticking away. The sand slips through the hourglass as Sloth slips out a freezer and shuts the final man down. Cowana 1-0.
Well, that is about as Cavanagh as it gets, I think. Slightly reversed in terms of roles. Normally, I would have expected to see Sloth being the one out on the roam, being at windows, at doorways, looking to bring down early members on the other side, but it was Gorgona doing that instead of Dining. And Sloth, who was the kind of the more steadfast player holding the side to itself, and that 2K he got was cool as a cucumber. Barely had to move his feet or swivel or pivot. Just turned around and picked up a 2K and was like, what's next, guys? Who's number 5 coming at us? Those two stepping up big for the boys to get them over the finish line. And I imagine Kendrew sat there, lying back in his chair, just thinking, oh, I'm so glad I haven't got to get my back all stretched out this week, ready to carry the boys after how it's gone in the last couple of weeks for them. Solid first round. And I think for TrainHard, a little bit scattered at points. One member pushing here, one pushing there, getting caught out by Gorgona, losing a lot of time, 90 seconds trying to roam clear, and ultimately losing 2. Didn't instill tons of faith, but again, first round, sometimes it can take a team 2 or 3 rounds to really warm into it.
And we've seen that before from TrainHard. You know, teams that are maybe struggling to pick up a win here and there and are having inconsistent performances. You never know what you're going to get after a few rounds, and maybe TrainHard just need to get themselves warmed up now. We can see Grizzly just applying one of them Surya gates, and it is a Surya gate. Des, I'm not going to give you the pleasure tonight. The Surya gate just going out.
I noticed you said Aruni gates earlier and dodged around it. I was like, he will say laser gates today. He will say it.
He shall
but now
not.
You're skirting around it.
He shall not. So that's been applied to the bottom of the white stairs there, just to try and prevent. I think that's another potential use there, Des. It's just it's slowing down an opportunity for a rush maybe as well. I know it's not going to be its sole purpose, but again, it just gives that warning. It gives that warning. If that Surya gate is cleared out, then you start thinking, right, we know this is a possible avenue of attack here. And again, it's just all about information. We can see Legion goo mines applied on the small office side of things, on the small tower. So they are very, very focused on the potential for this push, and Grizzly is focused on Noera's face right now as he's going to shut the man down. That's the Nomad gone, and that could be air jabs gone with him. Big utility loss if that's the case.
And the only player in the last round to find a frag. And we saw right up to the point of execution in the previous round, there was still the laser gates on the go. There was Legion goo mines on the go. There was still Malusi Banshees deployed in sight that Noera had to try and step over. None of the utility was dealt with by TrainHard. So Cavanagh, I think, have got some interesting setups coming in here that's forcing a lot of questions out of TrainHard. How are you going to deal with this utility if you lose 2 on the roam? How are you going to stop us roaming onto you if your Nomad is dead early? All these questions now start circulating, and Cavanagh will be testing TrainHard as the round progresses. And this is only 75 seconds in.
Baz and Chaoxis really need to get themselves running as soon as possible here. They don't want to find themselves 2, 3, 4 rounds behind with limited kills to their names. We know how much damage these two can do if given the opportunity. They need to find that spark, and it doesn't necessarily need to be spark. They just need to find something to set that fire going for TrainHard. But right now, everything going in the favour of Cavanagh. Coming down to that final minute, we've got 2 pushing the double window. I'm a bit concerned about this push, Des. We've got Durza looking to pressure the white stairs as well. There is no attention to Attic, no attention to Master. It's very one-sided attack.
I worry about Kendrew here being so low with the Zofia downstairs. It's only going to take 1 pop upstairs. Potentially he'll go down, but it's going to be Durza instead finding him out from the top of white. Either way, I think his days were numbered there, and he has been cut at the final second. Durza goes down as well. Blaz will know about Grizzly coming from green corridor, but he strikes first and finds the kill. I can't believe what I'm seeing here. Gorgona on the roam, Grizzly on the roam, while Sloth is sat on site. What is this, Cavanagh? What is going on?
Mixing things up, that is for sure. I was worried about that double window push, Des, and that's exactly why, because the problem that you get in that situation is that's been telegraphed to Cowana. You can't help it on that side because there's no attention to a hard breach on Master Closet wall. There's been no attention to a hard breach on Attic wall. So at that point, you are left with a single doorway from Armory Corridor and Trophy from Trophy itself, Trophy the room. So there's no real desire for a team to push in so directly through a single door. You're just going into a massive funnel. So Cavanagh know that TrainHard are unlikely to do that. They can write that side off until they hear a hard breach. And when they don't, all it means is that every gun can be trained towards white stairs and double window out towards the west. And that's what they did. And they just cut TrainHard down a man at a time as they came in. However, one important factor there was that roam kill, was that pickup onto Blaz on the Zofia underneath. That position could have been very impactful in trying to support those players in through the window, in through the top of white stairs. Getting in there and getting that kill was fantastic. Shots were missed. Blaz really needs to be winning that fight.
This is it, right? It's like trying to spin some plates and suddenly someone comes along and just cuts the sticking off at the bottom, so the plates all come crashing down to the ground. It's all good for have a push at white as long as you've got that support from below. And we touched on the Zofia, as you mentioned a second ago, being able to have that impact from below. But sadly, when Grizzly, again, still trying to get terms with Grizzly being the roamer in that context, the one to do the work, was beautiful. TrainHard so far being cut at the heels before they can make a push happen. And Cavanagh, although last round was a little bit closer, still sitting pretty, I feel. Into round number 3, we're seeing a really old school Cavanagh special coming back out here. I say old school, they've used it once or twice. Looking towards the clash being brought out. I always think back to the old days, and you'll remember this from back in the ESL Premiership UK, actually, Ace, as well. Back when they had Rendy on side, and remember they used to play on Border, for example. Yeah. They would always have a clash player playing on the West Wall. It was a thing of beauty to see. Didn't always go well, but it still seems to kind of stick by Cavanagh like a bad smell. You just can't get rid of that clash.
And the confidence boost of a beginning just continues for Cowana here as Gorgona comes in with that opening kill, this time onto Nuera. Once again, second time in 2 rounds that he has gone down first and taken those air jabs with him potentially. I'm not sure if any were deployed, but you can see Grizzly just looking to push onto that door, make himself known on the clash. He's not going to give Blaz any easy entrance there. We've got Sloth locking down that power position inside of Showers. Now, Grizzly just needs to be a little bit careful there. He doesn't want to over-aggress. It is a Zofia that he's pushing onto. She has the tools at hand to be able to remove that shield from in front of him. So, Grizzly taking the right choice there, dipping back to kitchen and just looking to continue that stream of information.
What they need to remember as well, really, is that Blaz is the one with the tools here to deal with the clash. The first impact gets eaten up by an ADS. The second one does go through successfully. But again, if this clash gets to a point where there's no utility left to unsettle her or look to try and catch her out at all, she could be really impactful as this round wears on. So I'm very keen to see on the utility use coming out of TrainHard. We already saw them get stretched a little bit in round number 1. Never got a chance to do any utility clear. And in this round, in this context, clash kind of counts as a moving piece of utility.
Sloth just holding things down from Showers there on the Maestro is something that TrainHard are going to have to address before they look to push onto site. We've seen this site, this place used so effectively previously. The Showers just able to hold down because there's a rotation open. You can see it there into site where Sloth can move through, given the opportunity in the late round and have an impact onto this single door and onto the breach. For the time being, he's going to keep himself safe inside of Showers and try to hold that down for as long as possible. Now, Anarchic's going to come head-to-head, puts the shotty to great use. That is putting Durza in the dirt, and that leaves us 5 versus 3, and Cavanagh, this dream start continues, but Spark will get in and be able to look at getting that diffuser down, but not before an impact is had from Grizzly. Gorgona gets in on the party, Cavanagh 3-0, and they are looking good.
I love how TrainHard pulled the trigger and say, right, boys, time to execute. And immediately, Cavanagh just spring into battle stations. They have one pushing down Shower, one pushes through site itself to gun down the planter. They have the clash on the doorway itself up to the north, also pushing out. There's almost like a 3-pronged attack that just kicks off at the same second, all in perfect sync, completely shut TrainHard down. They can't back out because the smoke's down behind them. Really good setup, and Arctic even stepping out here. One of the quieter players on the team normally in terms of kills. What a weird swing of fortunes it is to see after 3 rounds that Kendra is the only player on the team to not yet pick up a frag. And I'm not saying that in a bad way. That means the rest of the team is doing their jobs.
Absolutely. I think that's what Cavanagh needed. We've seen Kendra carrying the weight for the last couple of games, but he's been able to take a step back. And this is potentially, Des, where Cavanagh will shine, because they've now got Kendra's brain being applied to the game and he's not having to get out there and frag necessarily. And it might just allow him to be able to take a more reasoned view of what's going on and to make those calls and to have the players given a little bit more direction potentially, because he's not so hands-on. Now, TrainHard, they are struggling hard at the minute. They need to find something to put them back on track, because right now, I don't think they were close to any of those 3 rounds, Des. They have been very much landslide victories to Cavanagh. So if they can just rinse and repeat those 3 sites, I mean, we're going to need wholesale changes on any attacking push from TrainHard here if they want to get one of these sites over the line. If they come through and do the same as they've done last time, they're not going to have any more success here.
It's almost like a Cavanagh transform, because again, I'm looking around and thinking, man, it isn't Sloth going hyper-aggressive out on the roam. It's almost like they've evaluated their old playstyle and gone, look, what got us to EWEL isn't going to keep us in EWEL. Not at all to say they would have been relegated out. I think they probably could have found some form with their old playstyle that still worked for them. But there is a little bit of a reimagining on the go here, and I think it's working wonders. Either that or TrainHard are just still really trying to piece together what they need to start connecting rounds into wins. And some might look at round number 3 and say, well, you know what, Des, actually, I think you're wrong. TrainHard were close in round number 3. We're going to get the plant down. It was going from there. I would disagree. It reminds me of Kitchen and Service on Coastline. Speaking of which, we haven't seen Coastline at all this season. It's bloody bizarre, I'll give you that much. They were going for the plant, and that's when the kind of retake got sprung into action. Very similar to what you'd see on Kitchen and Service on a Coastline, for example. So don't think just because a plant was going down that it was in proximity of the site they were close. It's almost like Cavanagh let them take that from how we saw it.
Durza once again just playing himself in and around those white stairs, freezer stairs. He gets in there quickly, but then look at where we are nowadays. 1:30 into the round, he's made no more progress than he had 10 seconds into the round. He's just got himself in there quickly, but then there just doesn't seem to be this follow-up support from TrainHard. The team is not moving at the same pace, and you've got an Ash that's basically just sitting on her toes, just waiting to be able to move. Now Spark is going to use those Selma devices to get the hatch opened up into Freezer, so we will expect to see plenty of attention paid towards Freezer this time around. TrainHard obviously not wanting to play into the bunker and pillars area, and Kendrew, he's going to be in an important location here. He's on the Legion and he's just looking to hold down Freezer from the mirror window.
Doesn't need to be anything too crazy either. Like, why bother? You're still waiting to see what TrainHard's play is. What card are they going to play on the board this time around before declaring it's your move, Cavanagh? We're at the final 50 seconds or so here, and only now are we starting to finally look at any kind of pressure actually coming into Freezer. They know now with that committal of utility that there is going to be focus coming in this way, and quite rightly so, that a grenade will follow through not too long after, likely trying to go for the mirror window, but the ADS tucked just around the corner is going to be enough. A second one goes off. There is a third one waiting. May hear that go off as well. No, doesn't quite catch on that one. But either way, the grenade gets through. The window stays intact. They're impacting Blaz. One more would be enough to put him down here. And Kendrick can just say he's holding to the right. There's one also coming down the stairs. It's as easy as this, boys. We know where they're coming from.
Sloth gets the opener onto Nuera. However, that is traded out by Durza with a nice headshot. 4 versus 4 now as Kendrick locks himself behind that bomb, and he's just looking to stop this laundry push. And that's exactly what he does. What a perfect time for his first kills. Picks up a double that just splits the TrainHard attack wide open. Anarchy can go and get in on the action, and they finish the round off. Yet another landslide victory for Cavanagh in round 4, and they are looking unstoppable on Oregon.
What I will give to TrainHard, that wasn't a bad attempt. I thought they smoked off Cubby the way that you should. They had Kendrew isolated as 2 members pushed him at the same time. I mean, say same time. It was about 0.75 of a second apart, which enabled him time to swing around and pick up the kills, knowing that he would be aggressed from the other angle. 2 in Freezer, 2 in Laundry. They go for the push. Sadly, Cavanagh were just ready. It was a good attempt, but Cavanagh stands solid as they have done for the last 4 rounds now as we go back upstairs into kids and dorms. I'm wondering, Ace, given that was probably the best attack we've seen from TrainHard so far, have they got around winning them here, or are Cavanagh just going to 6-0 this whole defensive half?
Well, it's a question that we've got to start asking, Des, because it's certainly starting to look that way. If you remember last time around, TrainHard tried to push onto this site solely from white stairs and double window, and it was not successful. I think that is a fair description of it. So this time around, what would I like to see from TrainHard? Well, I'd like to see them mix it up a little bit. Let's use that hard breach they've got on Spark and Chaoxis. Let's get in there, open the attic, open the master wall. Even if you want to focus your push on double window, open those walls up. Give Cavanagh something to think about. Don't allow them to just point all guns west and wait for you to feed in through that funnel of a window and just shut you down one at a time. Mix it up a bit, get a multifaceted attack going on. That's what they nearly had success with, as you said there, Des, coming down. Laundry, Freezer, push at the same time. It was just unfortunate for them that Kendrew was more than ready for it and was able to wheel 180 and get himself a double. But I think if they can push those multiple angles, they might be able to find some joy here.
I agree with you about the walls piece as well, by the way. It's something that I've kind of called phantom pressure, right? As soon as a wall or a window is opened, you as the attackers, unless you hear, don't know if someone is there ready and waiting to come springing in at a moment's notice. It's always in the back of your mind. Someone might be there. They might come pushing in at any second. I've got to give some mind space and focus to that. And there's a really good kind of analysis of how it works as a pro player, like attention as a resource. If 20% of your thought process is going towards what might happen if someone pushes that angle, that 20% isn't going towards what's coming from that angle. I've got to be mindful of this. I've got to make this call out to the team. You're just stretching resources, even through something as simple as burning a bit of utility or opening a wall or killing someone, as the tent came through there for a second ago. Kendrew sadly coming away the worst of that trade.
I gotta say, TrainHard have been a little bit unlucky a couple of times in them gunfights. Kendrew should have been a dead man there. There's no two ways about it. Blaz pretty much hits his shots, just doesn't pop that headshot that he's looking for, and Kendrew walks away with over half health and can cause a nuisance of himself. He just gets himself back to site now, and that is another gun to help lock things down. Durza, Blaz, they were making quick progress once again. They got themselves into those early positions, tried to cut off the roam, and effectively did, but were unable to just get any real benefit from it. Now, Spark it is this time that opens the round onto an R-kick, and I've got a quick interesting stat for you guys. On the defense, Cavanagh with the opening death, only a 25% win rate. So this is TrainHard's time. 3 out of 4 rounds, they should win this from here.
Oh, I love being a spreadsheet. I do, like riddled with stats and fun little things that you can bring out in a broadcast, and that is an interesting one. Do you know what the league average is? I'm very curious to know if you have that stat to hand. The league average of when you take the opening death, what does the round win percentage become?
I don't have it for the league, Des, but I'll put it in.
Oh. You'll have to find out for me, mate. I'm really curious to know how that stacks up across different teams as well. This is now me being like, hey, sure, our stat man, please go and make it happen. I'm sure you'll be able to for next week, mate. I look forward to it. Either way, yes, it is the opening death, and onto the smoke of all people as well. Not the one that you want dying early, especially as we're now getting into the final 30 seconds. Got going at strikes big, double kill for himself. They have no idea that Grizzly's even present. And elsewhere, Sloth strikes big at the same time. This keeps on happening when it feels like TrainHard should get a kill or two to really get them on their way. But look, you've just seen the replay on your screen. The ever so slight mistiming, the repelling to kids was about a second and a half after the push came into big window, and Cavanagh were just like, well, we've done fighting there. Let's now turn around and focus our efforts elsewhere. If the timing was there, just by, I don't know, a fraction of a second, this shows how precise Siege can be. Another fraction of a second, and maybe TrainHard finding 1, 2, maybe 3 kills on the push in and are walking away with something. But otherwise, they're currently down 5 rounds with nothing to show for it. This is rough. You can understand why the timeouts come through.
It is rough. They're getting beaten up. There's no two ways about it. And this is the unfortunate side of TrainHard that we've seen so far in EUL. We know that there is another side to them, and we just need to see it a little bit more often. But I just want to come back to that stat, Des, because it just puts a bit more weight on that round for Cavanagh there. And I said it very quickly in the heat of the moment. I know that, and people might have missed it. Basically, what I was saying is, when Cavanagh are defending, if they take the opening death, they only go on to win the round 25% of the time. So 3 out of 4 rounds from that situation, they are going to lose it. And that just gives you an idea of how much TrainHard have just let them off the hook there. That should have been the first round in the bag for TrainHard. They should have been walking away now 1-4, looking at maybe a 2-4 split on the half. And if you could come away from this performance so far with a 2-4 split, you're thinking, actually, we've not done too badly there. So it really is a missed opportunity for TrainHard there. They need to close those rounds out where they get themselves that man advantage.
I think the real pain is the push that they employed, rather than going, say, I don't know, out to where they opened up the hole where an R-kick died, was they went for what was technically, I guess, a relatively standard push, where you're coming up through attic, you've got some coming in big window, one coming in through kids. It's kind of a, let's flood the site and not try and exploit where there might be a gap in the defense, and the timing element was what came down to it again. You're letting one player inside of kids take 2 separate gunfights. He kills both that are jumping in big windows, spins onto kids' window, kills the player that's there as well. there could have been 10 men versus 1 there, Ace. It's still consistent 1v1s being taken by individual players for Cavanagh that make this so easy for them. TrainHard need to find a new way to apply pressure when they've got this numbers advantage, I think, because that was what? Have you tracked down the opening kill so far? Was that like their first or second round they've got the opening kill?
Yeah, first one. The first 4 rounds went to Cavanagh, Gorgona Grizzly, Gorgona Sloth, and then Spark managed to get in and just sort of buck the trend a little bit, but yeah, unable to take advantage of that, unable to make it pay.
Ooh. Now, I thought they were hoping to move with some pace here, and by the looks of it, they've come across constant reinforcements, which, as we saw earlier on, constant starts drawing up questions of, okay, why is this reinforced? What's waiting? They have got drones in, so they have a rough idea as to what's going on, and they want this top floor control. Durza in his favorite spot on the map, once again at the top of white, and Sloth is the first one to peek this time around, gets the opening. A little bit of a funny look on his face there as he picked up that kill as well. Like, oh, get in the dirt. God damn you, get out of here. Gets that opening kill. Blaz gets flanked up from the backside by Gorgona, and there's the duo of Sloth and Gorgona striking true. An Arkic on the smoke again is dead quite early. Not ideal, but with those 2 kills coming onto Durza and Blaz, I imagine Cavanagh are feeling pretty comfortable right now. I'm
sure they are, and TrainHard are just allowing themselves to be a bit too predictable here. How many times have we seen Durza and Blaz in and around the bottom of white stairs and freezer security within the first 30 seconds to a minute of a round? We know that they're coming in from small tower because that's where they keep pushing in from. And Cavanagh now, they've had 5 rounds of that. They don't need any more invitation to step up, hold the angles, and to cut people down nice and early in the round. And Sloth says, thank you very much. That's my second opener of the day, and this time I'm going to put Durza down. So absolutely perfect start for Cavanagh.
Gorgona's 10-1, by the way.
I mean, it says it all, doesn't it? You know, it says it all.
It does. 2 kills per round and has died once. Grizzly is on 5 kills, 0 deaths. Like, this is a walk in the park, dare I say, for Cavanagh. Not at all the TrainHard aren't trying, they are, but for Cavanagh, it has been, again, these gunfights on site that they just come out on top of, like 4-0 without losing a single man. Yes, they might bleed a member or 2 early on, but it hasn't yet led to a round win. With 60 seconds left to go here in a 3 versus 4, it feels like round 6 might not be all that much different. Gorgona inside of security, still a member or 2 from Cavanagh, holding on the top floor and saying you will not get top floor control. If you try coming to push into kitchen here, you are going to feel a little bit of our wrath, because let's not forget, this is a meeting and kitchen hold rather than a dining and kitchen hold.
TrainHard have to deal with the top floor, otherwise they are going to rue that decision. Sloth looking to move round, and it's just an absolute, it's a freebie, Des. He's come round the corner, and there's 2 of them stood there. Absolutely no idea what's going on the flank. One of them was a Nomad, I think. Yeah, Nomad first. So, you know, you've got to ask the question. There's an air jab above security door, but you haven't moved in through there yet. Your flank isn't protected. You've just been hit by Sloth for a double. You know, I really do always try to find the positives, Des, and I don't want to get on TrainHard's case. They are a team of capable players. We know that these guys have got more than they are showing us. We know that they can play better. Blaz is a great fragger. He can get in there and get the kills. So far, he's 1-6. It's just such a struggle for TrainHard today. And I'm looking at the faces of the player cams, and it's written all over them, Des. This is tough on them too. And you know, we don't want to see teams like this. We want to see them come out and show us the best that they can be. And TrainHard, you've shown us better so far this stage, but right now, Cavanagh, they just look clinical.
And think about the boost this gives to Spirits as well, like what this is going to do. And we'll talk about the Blitz in a second, guys. We're not ignoring it. But think about the motivation boost this now gives to Cavanagh as a team as well. Just reminding them, look, boys, let's not forget, you've just qualified into EUL from Challenger League. You're coming up against some established players and names here. Like, none of really the players on this team you look at and go, I don't know who they are. Spark, previously on Vitality, was benched for a year. Now, of course, back in active play. Noera, we've seen in CL, been coined as the upcoming Shaiko. Blaz, the absolute god of Challenger League, the demon of Penta, being droned in and slaying everyone who stands before him. Chaoxis and Durza coming across, of course, from Tempera last season. We all know who they are. But for Cavanagh, this is a really good motivational boost to say, you know what, boys, we do belong here, and we can play this game well. Hopefully that propels them forwards into further weeks. Now we can talk about the Blitz Ace.
And talk about it, we shall, Des. Talk about it, we shall. Gorgona bringing the Blitz along. It's an unorthodox choice, that much is fair to say, but at 6-0, if you're ever going to have the opportunity to give it a whirl, I think that this is it. Grizzly moving quickly into the top of Big Tower there, looking to work downwards, get control over rear stage. We can see the drones are in and just feeding that information back. currently got 2. Chaoxis and Spark looking down to hold pillars and bunker for as long as possible, but it really is the blitz of Gorgona that is going to be the fascinating choice here, just to see exactly how aggressive they go with it. Now, they haven't brought any of the disruption ops along. They haven't got Dorkaby or Finker or anybody like that along with, so here we go, Des.
They're going to rush.
This is the moment.
They're about to blow it out with an impact.
This is the moment.
They want to try and stop the elbow hold, I think, so we can't go back through and reinforce it in time. They're just gearing up for it now. Grizzly's playing distraction on the stairs, and as soon as he thinks the Chaos is distracted, they're probably going to try and rush for it. Surely now they go for it? Now's the best time, boys. That's it. Blast the guy out who's playing on Shaiko. Grizzly pushes down and finds one, and in they go. Here's the rush. Here comes the train. Nino, we're in. Smoke's being bullied out. He's been knifed to the ground. They can't reinforce the wall. That's how you break a very common defense, ladies and gents. And Grizzly finds a second coming down Big Tower. There's 2 men left alive, Durza and Blast. They've had their pants well and truly pulled down here, and spanked Red Raw by Cavanagh. They're about to take this 7-0. We thought this game was interesting and hard to call. Cavanagh laugh in our faces. They spit on us and say, this has been anything but an indecisive, Des. We have just completely dominated TrainHard.
Kendrew there trying to get that diffuser down, but there just wasn't enough time before the kills rained in. What a use of blitz there, Des. You called it perfectly, and Cavanagh called it perfectly. They just rushed on in and took full advantage of TrainHard in the bunker and pillars area. TrainHard, they're not going to forget that for a long time, Des.
Man, I mean, if you want to see what domination looks like, just watch this back. I just looked at the kills there for a second. I think I saw 8 kills across all the members of TrainHard across 7